Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I want to go over this speech that Jeffrey Sachs gave in UN Food Summit. I have previously also commented on some of his videos and he has a tendency of bringing up things that people don't want to talk about. And in this video he talked about the world food system, what is wrong with that, about Congo, about taxing the rich, and about the hypocrisy of Western countries and the way they treat African nations. Before we get started, remember to subscribe, like, share and comment.
Thank you very much. What we've been hearing is how the system actually works right now. And I want to emphasize we have a world food system. It's based on large multinational companies. It's based on private profits. It's based on a very, very low measure of international transfers to help poor people, sometimes none at all. It's based on extreme irresponsibility of powerful countries with regard to the environment. And it's based on a radical denial of rights of poor people, as we just heard.
In this event they were talking about world food programs and there were nations from all over the world. In this panel there were nations from Africa and Latin America and they were complaining that the way systems are run currently in this global system are highly problematic. And he's right to point out that currently when it comes to food, it's all about private ownership and large corporations. Because for example in America, the largest landowner is Bill Gates. Amount of land he owns in Africa we don't even know, but he has bought a lot of land in Namibia. He has bought a lot of land all over Africa. And he's not farming that land, at least to my knowledge. So it's highly problematic.
It's interesting, we heard from the minister of DRC, what's wrong with your country? Well, we don't even start by saying the King of Belgium created a slave colony for 30 years. The government of Belgium ran the slave colony for another 40 years. The CIA assassinated your first popular leader, Mr. Lumumba, and then installed another dictatorship for the next 30 years. And then Glencore and others now suck out your cobalt without giving you tax income. We don't reflect on that. We say, what's wrong with you? Why don't you govern properly? And so we have a system, but we need a different system. We cannot turn this over to the private sector. We already did.
When it comes to UN, the reason why I don't like them that much is because they rarely talk about stuff like this. They always blame the African countries, but they never bring up all the negative things that the Western countries do. And what he's saying here is 100% fact. The question when they were asking why can't Congo be governed correctly, why can't things be fixed, and they were blaming them on something. They forgot the terrible history that Congo has lived through. Over 90 years of the worst kind of colonization where over 20 million people were killed. Nobody brings that up. The killing of Mr. Lumumba. And they're forgetting that Congo is the richest country on earth when it comes to natural resources. And they're not talking about all these Western corporations who are taking the cobalt, taking all these natural resources that Congo has and not paying taxes on it, not paying even fair prices. They are causing conflicts in Congo because when there's conflict, natural resources are cheaper. So it's by design that Congo is in this mess. And I love the fact that finally somebody's in a UN meeting and he's saying it out loud. And you can see how uncomfortable this woman gets.
And the different system has to be based on principles of human dignity in the Universal Declaration, principles of sovereignty, principles of economic rights, because these are not nice things. I come from a country that not only doesn't care about the world's poor, It doesn't even care about its own poor. 1 in 7 Americans is hungry right now. And they don't care. The private sector is not going to solve this problem. I'm sorry to say to all of the private sector leaders, behave, pay your taxes, follow the rules. That's what you should do. And what the governments should do is the following. They won't, but they should. First, the G20 should become the G21 by inviting systemically the chairperson of the African Union and the African Union to be the 21st country. The European Union is a member of the G20 as the EU. If you add the AU as the 21st for the G21, you add 1.4 billion people to representation at that crucial event. That will change decisively the discussion because 1.4 billion people are not at the table for finance right now.
I have to say that this guy is totally different than all the other Western economists that I have seen, because he points out that, you know what, we are not in a better situation. We have hunger in our country. We have poverty there. It's always funny when people from the US or Europe, they come to African countries and to these meetings, they act as if they have everything figured out. And only problem is Africa. Another problem they have is they never bring up solutions. But it's an excellent solution. Give African Union G20 membership. That will change a lot because finally African countries would have representation in a crucial meeting and in a crucial place. I doubt they will do it, just like he said. They will probably not do it. But he's 100% correct. That will be the right thing to do. African Union should have also membership in many other places and representation that we are lacking.
Second, we need an order of magnitude change of development finance. The rich countries just borrowed $17 trillion for COVID. The poor countries, nothing. Because the rich countries can borrow at zero, and the poor countries pay 5 or 10% coupon rates or have no access at all. So the world exposed its grotesque inequality this past year and a half. Rich countries didn't say, we tighten our belts, why don't you? My country spent $7 trillion of emergency funding, not one penny for anybody else, by the way. So that's the second thing. We need massively to increase the lending and borrowing capacity of poor countries at near zero interest rates like the rich countries have. Then they could get something done.
This is another crucial thing that he is exposing. This is the main issue we have. Every time there is a global crisis, the Western countries, they take loans and they use that money as quantitative easing. $7 trillion the Americans spent. We don't even know how much money the Europeans did. They did the same thing in 2007. But every time there's a crisis in African countries or developing countries, they say it is an economic problem, so you have to tighten up your belt. This is what IMF is currently doing. I made a video about IMF lending money to Kenya. They lent money to Kenya to deal with coronavirus, and they told them that you have to increase your taxation on oil and crucial things if you want the couple $2 billion. Imagine that. How can somebody develop and how can somebody go through a crisis if you have to increase your taxes on crucial things that poor people need in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a crisis? The Americans didn't do that. The Americans, they gave people more money, but we're supposed to take more money from the people. This is a hypocritical situation. And they complain why African countries are taking loans from China. At least China is not telling us to destroy our economy. That is the difference between West giving us loan and Chinese giving us loan. At least the Chinese won't intervene. When you take money from the World Bank, from IMF, they will make sure that you destroy your economy, and that's what they are currently doing. And he's exposing this idiocy, acting as if the Western countries have a better economy. No, you just have an easier access to loans and finance. And if we're going to ever talk about equality, we have to talk about finance.
Because this is the only way we're going to have a civilized world, is a strong UN. And it cannot be that the whole UN budget is less than my neighborhood's budget in New York. The UN core budget this year is $3 billion. New York City's budget is $100 billion. And then we say, why don't things work well? Because the rich are hoarding everything. Final point, rather than our 3 billionaires going in space, well, they could go into space and stay there and leave their money behind. That would be one idea. But another idea is we have 2,775 billionaires on the current list. Their combined net worth, 2,700, is $13.1 trillion. Now, I have it on good authority, you don't need more than $1 billion to be comfortable.
This is the third solution he brings up, and this is something that I completely agree with. Because I've already made videos. For example, you can check the one that is titled The Problem with Mansa Musa and Inequality. I was talking about the inequality in Nigeria and in Africa. There are dozens of billionaires in Nigeria, but people are going hungry. Why aren't they taxed? We need to tax our billionaires. It's not just a matter of, Jeff Bezos and stuff like that. Africa has billionaires, and we have corporations operating in our lands. Some of them are foreign, yes. We need to tax them as well, but we need to also tax our own corporations and our own billionaires. There are plenty of them. Some of them have $30-40 billion in a country that doesn't even have that much money combined. That is ridiculous, and they should be taxed because they are making money in our lands. Now, in the end, I just want to say I hope you like this video. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment because it helps me out. Thank you very much.